This is a review of the 2015 Honda Civic Si. It's the last we're going to see of this car. It's made in Canada, by the way. This car has an exterior styling which is a little bit tortured. It went through a lot since 2006 and it's had plastic surgery, though never a real total makeover. Some parts of it I like, some parts are a little bit more immature, tacky, let's say. The front I like a bit, you know, it has a pretty aggressive look, especially the top part. The front lights are auto on off and it has fog lights. This car's most recent update was in 2014. I like the chrome tip exhaust. I'm not so sure about that rear spoiler. This car, the Si, has a special history for automotive enthusiasts. I mean, Si always represents somebody who wanted a little bit more than basic transportation. You can hear the rear design is very nice. We're going to take a look again at that rear spoiler. I don't know. Sometimes I like it. Most of the times I don't. It's up to you. The car does have a pretty athletic stance. Those wheels are 225/40s on 18 inches. Maybe they should have been 45 for a better ride quality, but I'm not complaining that much. The rear trunk is plenty roomy. There's pins that you pull on the left and the right to fold the seats 60/40. We're going to take a look at those pins in a second. There they are. You just pull on that and the seats go down. Very convenient, very convenient. The interior quality of the Honda, beginning with the store, is very average. It doesn't rattle, but it doesn't feel super quality. When you go inside, you're greeted with a comfy seat with an uncomfortable material that it's made out of. Steering the audio controls are illuminated, the seats are heated, and you have climate control. In the back, the rear passengers can be accommodated 2, not 3, and in a pinch only. More than half an hour, I think it's going to be too much. Looking on the inside from the front, the cheap material on the seats is even on the elbow rest. Nice shifter, though I heard the aluminum grip does get hot in hot weather. The steering wheel is a perfect size, yet feels kind of cheap. And there is a nice 7-inch display, though there's no volume knobs for the volume. I mean, that's kind of ridiculous. Honda really has got to work on the ergonomics of that. However, it's a nice airy feeling. The greenhouse is good, visibility is excellent, and the layout for a driver-centered feel is excellent. As far as noise, vibration, harshness goes, the vibration and harshness are very good. However, the noise on the highway is extremely loud, much higher than it is in the class. If we take a look here, the dials for the climate control are very easy to reach. It's sort of like a fake imitation carbon fiber. It doesn't look great, doesn't look awful, it looks okay. Pricing is kind of incredible for this car. A note on the chassis, it's set up to be comfy sport. If you want the same level of quality except more sporty, you're going to go for the FRS. The horsepower is about 205, 174 torque. It's not as a high rever as it was before. However, the fuel economy is 10.8 in the city, 7.4 on the highway, and those are real numbers unlike other car makers. This is a top-notch engine, reliable, revvy, and it has pretty decent torque. Let's listen to my thoughts on the road. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this 2015 Honda Civic Si. Oh, just a moment. So I gave the car a pretty good review in the overview just now. A couple of things. I want to talk about the value proposition that Honda's offering with this car, because right now they're selling them cheap. There's a $1,500 manufacturer's rebate. There's low cost of financing. They're trying to get rid of these cars. I built this car, and I built next to it the middle range compact cars, like the middle range Mazda 3, the middle range Honda Ford Focus, a base Corolla S. And this car now costs, if you buy it over 60 months, 0 cash down, about as much as those cars. And it's clearly a superior car from a performance point of view. And I would say that if I had to buy a car in that price range, I would get the Civic. Is it a bargain GTI? Is it a bargain WRX? Is it a bargain ST? No, it's not. Why? Well, from a power point of view, it hasn't kept up. Now, that normally would not bother me. It's all the other things. When you're in a GTI, you don't feel like you're in a base Golf. When you're in an ST, it's not a base Focus. When you're in a WRX, it doesn't feel like a base Impreza. What this car does feel like when you're sitting in it, despite its wonderful driving position, despite the best shifter in class, despite the best clutch take-up in class, a wonderful steering wheel, though the leather does feel like plastic, is everything else feels like a base car. It feels like a $20,000-$25,000 car. The material on the dash, it's soft touch, but yeah, it's the cheapest soft touch I've ever touched in my life. On the top, it's hard plastics. The carbon fiber looks fake. The door has, if you press here, there's a give that feels cheap. There's nothing that feels quality when you're sitting in this car. The exterior styling too is not that special. I would argue that the wing looks a little bit immature from the side. It just doesn't look like those other cars. So that's what you're paying for when you're buying those other cars. And the difference in price is justified. Now, if you want like a sporty experience on a budget, then this is definitely your car. I mean, it has to be. And another hidden value about Honda, which I find may or may not be relevant to you, but you know, when you buy cars like this, you're going to beat on them. And when you beat on these cars, like if you're in a GTI, you've always got a little something in the back of your head saying, oh God, I hope it doesn't break. You know, you've got that going on in the back of your head. I remember when I owned a BMW, I always had that going on in the back of my head. Oh God, I hope it doesn't break. When you have a Honda Civic Si, you're never worried. You're never worried. It reminds me of my Scion FRS that I owned for a year. I was never, ever worried, no matter how hard I beat it, that there would be no problem. And I think the reason why is, one is the obvious superior Honda engineering. But I think the other thing is that precisely it is not overpowered. It's a 200 horsepower car. And 200 horsepower makes driving between 50 and 120 kilometers an hour very fun. Anything over that, you start to lack power. But when you're in that sweet spot, you're having a great time. So very similar to the SRS. In fact, I think a direct competitor to this car, or not really a direct competitor, but if you don't want that over-the-top sporty, you're sitting on the ground, being jarred with every bump experience that the FRS is, if you don't want that, then this is the good car. So that's the review. That's basically the review.